Hello and welcome to Noggin Comics. I'm Kyle, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about our experience as vending at Minnesota Con in Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Now, we exhibited at the show with Mind's Eye Comics, and we got a small but mighty haul. Now, I would say that the show was very, we overestimated what the reach of the show, I should say. We thought the show was going to be bigger than it was, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Yes, financially, we didn't do all that well at the booths. But the great people at the show, the showrunners, came by, checked on us a few times. Overall, I do believe that if the showrunners try to give us another try next year, it would do better. I know that the cancellation of Michael Walker, Sean Gunn not being there for the first day, probably really hurt attendance. But that doesn't mean it was a terrible show. Also, it was my first show vending in a position that I was in, and I think that made me open up my eyes and see more of what to expect from shows going forward in this condition or in this position. Now, let's talk about the haul that we got from the show. It's a small haul. This is not going to be a long video. I'm going to first start off with the local icon of Minnesota. I think we all know him. I mean, I'm always wearing his necklace. And that's Prince. And I was able to find the Prince comic that's been missing from my collection for the last 3-4 years. And that is Rock and Roll Comics, the Prince and George Clinton issue. I can rarely find this. This is not in good shape. There's a chip at the corner. I overpaid for it, but I just need this in my collection to finish up that whole. This is the third comic that he had out. Yeah, so he has 3 comics out, and this is the only one that was missing from the collection. And to keep on that, Brent Skolnover, artist on Captain America Ghost Army, artist on Devil's Highway, and a few other books. Also did some t-shirts, and he did this awesome Prince Minotaur t-shirt that I could not pass up. He's a cool guy, and I love talking to him. Probably spent 20, maybe 30 minutes talking to him at his booths, his table, and just talked all things comics. It was a great conversation, and I really wish we had more time. Probably would have sat there for maybe an hour or 2 hours, talked to him another day. Who knows? Maybe one time I get him on the channel. But to stay with local creators, those who've worked for Marvel and DC, we knew that Patrick Gleason was going to be at the show, and we were hoping that we could get the Super Sons Omnibus. But he didn't have it, but he had an omnibus that we both wanted. That's the Batman and Robin omnibus. This huge, massive book. This goes for $150, and we spent $100 on it to get this amazing remark of Nightwing that's signed by him too. He asked Nora. He goes, "What character do you want on it?" I'm thinking she's gonna say Harley Quinn or Poison Ivy, and she goes, "Nightwing." Sure enough, 10 minutes later, he just draws up Nightwing, and it looks perfect. Now, pivot away from local creators and creators from Minnesota. We had to buy at least one key comic. This is a minor key, but this is Wolverine 88. I got this at Go Big or Go Home Comics. This is the first meeting of Daredevil and Wolverine. I had to get it. He gave me a hell of a deal on it, so I could not pass up on that. And I'm going to be going at his table again come the Minnesota Comic Exchange show, July 22nd. Mind's Eye, Go Big or Go Home. Both going to be at that show, and we're probably going to do some damage. But to cap off the episode here, I've got 4 books left here. One's a Ash Can by Bennett Pisak. He'll be on the channel eventually, and he probably gets the last name correct then. But this is Clay Hollow, Halloween's Origin. Nora and I are going to read this, probably do a little short on this because it's a very interesting concept and we had to pick it up, especially knowing that in 2024 this would be an Indiegogo that Bennett is going to release as a full graphic novel, actually. And the last creator that we talked to a lot of creators. When we talked to Tom Wynn, we talked to Brent Schoonover, Dennis Vogan, friend of the channel, Nick Pelichek, friend of the channel, Danny Swanson, another friend of the channel. But one person that I spent a lot of time talking to who I've never met before is Chris Anderson. And he was the artist on Hurum, Spectral. And this really cool book that was probably my favorite find of the whole weekend. And that is Image Grand Disaster, which was made in the same light of X-Men Grand Design and all those Marvel Grand Design books. And as you can tell, it really takes that Image history and just kind of does that, give us a history lesson of Image and independent comics. Overall, though, like I said, it was a smaller show than anticipated. That doesn't mean it was a bad show, though. And I really hope they give another swing next year. I think it has potential of being a good show. Now, looking at the future, we have the Minnesota Comic Exchange Comic Show July 22nd. We have the MNCBA Fall Con in October. I'll get you the exact date when I know that. And then Twin City Con. Oh, I'm missing something. Uncanny Experience in September. And Twin City Con in November. So we have a lot of shows coming up. Mind's Eye Comics has got a lot planned. Noggin Comics got a lot planned. So the future looks bright. So if you like the channel, like, comment, and please subscribe so you can see the future of what's going to happen, and especially the Minnesota comic community. But until then, have a good night and see you at the comic shop.